恭请大德圣听，为此法会及一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，殊真无生。Well, the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attemptless and in birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchetoye alahati sanmiao sanputo 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha 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 Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, and all good knowing advisors, Amitabha, welcome back. This is lecture number 169. As usual, while I'm getting my slides ready, I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions. Yes, no? If you do, you can unmute your microphone or you can type it into the chat box. What we're going to do again is now we're going to do a quick summary of what we went through last week. So last week we look at we are still on the topic of lecturing and explaining the Dharma. And last week we found that asking questions, okay, for some people who don't want to share the Dharma or they not sure how to do it, asking questions is an excellent way, because that's exactly how most of the sutras that we have were spoken, because someone asked the Buddha a question. And then Shufu said all of us should have the attitude of wanting to spread the Dharma, and speaking Dharma or sharing the Dharma is an excellent way of doing that. Then if you ever find yourself in a position where you have to speak, then Shufu says you should, best if it's a formal lecture, try to meditate for half an hour or an hour before you lecture. And then Shufu also said that the Dharma is spoken in accord with the illnesses of living beings. That means usually when the Dharma is spoken, it's very specific. If it's kind of like you have children and your children have different personalities, and you will tell one a child, you would teach a child a certain way, but you would teach another child a certain way in accordance with what they need. So because of that, Shufu says you cannot take out a single part of the Dharma and say, oh, this is correct or this is wrong. Why? Because you need to see it within the context of the situation of why the Dharma is spoken. And let me see. So this is the same with, let me see, the next one, which is not the next one, the one after next, speaking in accordance with the dispositions of people, is kind of related. For example, when the Buddha would speak, there are many sutras that is very different from the way the Buddhas would speak to the monks. Why? Because when you become a monk, you don't do it because you like the lifestyle or you like the Buddha. Venerable Ananda did it because he liked the Buddha. He was the Buddha's cousin, but he admired the Buddha a lot. But that's not why you do it. The intent, the proper intent, is because you want to end birth and death. So the Buddha was very straightforward with the monks, and his instruction was always about ending birth and death, enduring suffering, ending birth and death, very straight to the point. But when the Buddha would speak to lay people, the Buddha would take on a very different tone. He wasn't harsh. He was very, how you say, he would know how to speak to people, different people. And a lot of the people that the Buddha spoke to did not see the Buddha as their teacher, or at least when the conversation started out, they didn't see the Buddha as their teacher, as their master. So you can imagine, how would you speak to someone who does not subscribe to or does not see you as an authority, a figure of authority, So there are sutras where, for example, there's an old couple, I think in their 80s, and they went up to the Buddha and said, oh, the man said, ever since 16 years old, when I saw my wife, I fell madly in love with her. And I have, every day, my love for her has remained the same. Love at first sight, but every day is like that. And he says, how can he wishes to remain with his wife in life after life. And then the wife told the Buddha the same thing. He said, ever since I saw my husband when I was 16 years old, I fell in love with him, and my love for him has never diminished. And both of them want to remain as husband and wife in life after life. Now, some people who are familiar with the sutras will be shocked because will be shocked at the Buddha's answer, because the Buddha taught them exactly how they could achieve that. And they will say, oh, isn't the Dharma all about ending birth and death and letting go of desire, like emotional love between husband and wife? Well, it's true that the Dharma is there to serve that purpose, but the Dharma has to be spoken to people at their level. Not everyone is ready to end birth and death. Most people, they just want to find happiness, security, safeness from illnesses and bad things. They just want to feel protected. So we have sutras like that, where the Buddha would teach according to the disposition or the intent and the level of the specific living beings. Okay, all right. Now, then Shufu said, don't use, when you have a chance to speak the sutra, don't point out people's faults. That's not a good thing to do. And I didn't finish that typing out that sentence. Shufu said, don't discriminate between Dharma speakers. Don't say, oh, that Dharma speaker is very good, that Dharma speaker is not so good. Don't do that. Instead, listen to the principle of the Dharma rather than the person. And then Shufu said, and don't just read from a book, be lively. Yeah. I realize I'm also reading, but the difference is I have prepared my slides in advance. This is based from feedback a long time ago when I first started out. And I didn't have slides. And apparently what I was saying was all over the place. So the advice given to me was have some slides so that you can have a foundation to anchor people so they know what you're talking about. Okay. Now, next slide. We also looked at the middle way. Okay. The middle way is not a concept of moderation, because why? Moderation depends on the individual. If you talk to an alcoholic and you talk to him about moderation, his idea of moderation is not drink too much, but he still drinks. You know, that because so middle way is not moderation. Middle way is to avoid the wrong views of nihilism or nihilism and eternalism. Okay, because that's the only way the mind can work. Our conscious mind, our confused mind that's built on ignorance, that's built on duality, cannot help but see life and react to our everyday conditions with these two extremes and everything in between. Okay, we cannot help it. That's because why? That's the only way the mind can function. It's like some software programs. In the beginning, there are limited number of colors when you drawing programs, computer programs where you draw. If in the beginning there were only maybe 32 colors that you can choose from, because that's the limit of the computer, and it can't go beyond that. And you can't mix and match. You can't have gradients where black gradually turns to white, because why? The computer couldn't do that. So our mind, okay, cannot help but only see things at between the extremes of nihilism or eternalism and everything in between. So all our understanding of religion, all our understanding of philosophy, of the meaning of life, is all based on this. And it's all conditional. So what the middle way does, which is the Noble Eightfold Path, is that it takes us out from this distorted view of life. Okay, so the middle way is not a way of moderation, for example, like drinking. Middle way is following the precepts, is following right view, right understanding. Okay, it's very specific. It's to end suffering. Okay, it's not moderation at all. Okay, so today, what we're going to do, next we have a sutra that talks about what you can expect if you learn to speak the Dharma. Okay, and then after that, we'll go and look at Nagarjuna Bodhisattva, who explains what sharing of Dharma means. All right? Okay, now. Oh, I mentioned, or was it last week, that I was given some medicine for my cough and it worked extremely well. I went to look for the medicine. It was Chinese medicine. I went to some Chinese medical shops to look for the medicine, and guess what I found out? The reason why it worked so well was because it contains steroids, and that medicine is actually banned. I couldn't find it because it's banned. I think people buy it online, but it's not supposed to be sold. Yes, so that's what I discovered. Okay, back to our sutra. This sutra is known as the Sutra on Bhadra's prophecy. Okay, I'm not going to explain the whole sutra, but I'm just taking part of it. And this, the Buddha explains to someone called Bhadra. It says these four are the benefits for bodhisattvas who teach the Dharma. What are the four? Enjoying a meal after working. In other words, you never go hungry. Okay? You will receive robes, alms, bathing, seeds, and medicines to cure the sick. It's not just for yourself. Okay? You will be able to get the requisites, that means what people really need, and be able to tend to the sick, to sick people. In other words, a bodhisattva, 6 blessings. Okay, I know we've been having that discussion in our WhatsApp chat group. When a bodhisattva does things to create blessings, it's not the bodhisattva 6 blessings, not for selfish reasons, but so that they can benefit other living beings. Okay, so this is one, when you speak Dharma, this is what you can get. And then number 3, weakening the power of opponents. In other words, when people try to say things to convince you of, say, a wrong view, they cannot influence you. Why? Because you have proper view. You know the principles of the Dharma. And number 4 is very interesting because you get attended upon and protected by gods who favor the Dharma so that they are invulnerable to Mara. So you have the gods as your Dharma protectors. And being invulnerable to Mara, you can see it in, I guess, at least 2 perspectives. One is the Mara himself. If Mara wants to come and create trouble because you're someone who practices the Bodhisattva path and you speak Dharma, then Mara can't mess with you. Why? Because you have bodyguards. That's one way to look at it. The other way is because of your understanding of the Dharma, that Mara can only influence you through your 6 senses. Okay? Through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Which is why when you enter the state of emptiness, Mara cannot find you. Why? Because in the Heart Sutra it says, no eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind. You have left that behind. In other words, the doors that Mara can open to find your weaknesses are not there anymore. So you can also look at it from that point of view, where as you go about your daily lives, whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you smell, whatever you taste, does not increase the 3 poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance. Okay, then next slide. Then the Buddha says, bodhisattvas have these 4 qualities. When they teach the Dharma to others, their words will be worth hearing. Okay, what are the 4? You have few desires. Okay, that means you practice generosity, and which sometimes is known as renunciation. You give away, and then you have a sense of contentment. That means you have also less desires. You're happy with what you have. You don't feel envy or jealousy against others. You have a good and gentle nature, all right, loving kindness and compassion, and you know how to speak well. You're not harsh in your speech. And number 4, accomplishing their own spiritual practice. So, excuse me. So what? Let me drink some water. Excuse me. So, number 4, your understanding of the Dharma is also matched by your practical experience. They go hand in hand. Wisdom and practice go hand in hand. So you're not one-sided. So you can say, for example, if you're all theory and no practical experience, you can talk a lot about meditation, but when someone who also meditates asks you certain questions, you say, oh, I don't know, because I only know what the book says, but I haven't experienced it myself. You don't know that. Then it's useless. But if you only meditate and you don't study, then you have no idea how to deal with the states that you're encountering. You might think it's real when it just comes from your past karma. For example, there's a monk who under Elder Master Shin, which is our elder master, our Shufu. There was a monk under Elder Master Shin, and he's a Chan monk. And then when he practices the Dharma, when he practices meditation, he will start seeing a gold Amitabha Buddha in front of him. And the gold Amitabha Buddha will tell him, come with me, come with me. And he was very puzzled because he went to see his master, and he told his master, he said, every time I meditate, I see a gold Amitabha Buddha in front of me. He's beckoning me to follow him. So Shin Lao Sang says, oh, and give him a stick. Says, okay, the next time you meditate and you see the Buddha, you poke the Buddha. And he did exactly as he was told. Sure enough, he saw golden Amitabha Buddha in front of him. But he didn't, most people, okay, when they see a gold Amitabha Buddha would get very happy. Oh, I'm going to the Pure Land, going to the Pure Land. No, that's not what you want to do. Okay, very, very important. Whatever you experience in your meditation, don't, even wholesome signs, don't let it turn you, don't let it affect you, because the moment it affects you and you get attached, or you think you're some big shot, or your meditation is paying off, well, that's when even a good sign turns into a bad sign, a bad outcome. Why? Because your mind moves and you get attached. So what happened with this monk? Okay, he poked Amitabha Buddha in front of him, and then he got startled because he got out of his state and he realized that he had poked himself. So he felt pain. So he went up to Elder Master Shin and asked him what was going on. He says, I'm a Chan monk. I don't practice Pure Land. I don't recite the Buddha's name. Why am I seeing Amitabha Buddha in front of me? And Elder Master Shin told him, oh, that's because in your past life, or one of your past lives, you did practice the Pure Land. And so right now, when you are meditating and your mind is getting calm, what happens is sometimes your seeds, your past memories, your past karmic seeds that you planted before will arise. If you are someone who reads the sutras, okay, for example, like the Shurangama Sutra, you will know this, and then you will know not to react. Okay, imagine if the monk was a Pure Land practitioner and he saw Amitabha Buddha, and he thought that, oh, I'm going to the Pure Land, I'm successful in my Pure Land practice. That would be his downfall, because then he will get attached, and then the next time he sits, he would want to see Amitabha Buddha again, and that's how Mara gets to you, or any other demonic force. Why? Because you have a weakness, you still have greediness. So when the monk understood that, he was able to sit and not pay attention anymore. Okay? So practice and wisdom hand in hand together. Okay, now next. Buddha says, Bhadra. Oh, today we will end at exactly 10:30. Why? Because so that if anyone wants to join the talk by Dharma Master Che on the book launch, you can do so. All right? Okay. Now, the Buddha says, Bhadra, when bodhisattvas have these four qualities, they teach the Dharma while avoiding profiting from their knowledge and without concern for material things. All right? What are the four? Number one, dispelling the fear of samsara. So if you can teach and help people not fear birth and death, you make them see the wisdom behind the way. You explain to them what's actually going on. So people understand, oh, okay, so what happens when I die is that my karma carries forward, but not the self. So I shouldn't get attached too much to the body. I shouldn't get attached too much to the self. But what I should do is I should create habits so that in my next life, when I forget everything, I can be closer to who I want to be like. So for example, if you want to be like Guanyin Bodhisattva, you have to figure out what does Guanyin Bodhisattva mean. Okay, and then once you understand, oh, Guanyin Bodhisattva means loving kindness, compassion, 1,000 hands and 1,000 eyes, meaning she has developed the ability to always help people and not turn people away. She gives people confidence. She removes people's fear. And you want to be just like that. Then now, right now, you have to embody those qualities. And the only way you can do that is to practice that in moment after moment, in thought after thought. So when you create these new habits, it is only these new habits that are going to go with you to your next life. And they will naturally be part of your personality. That's what carries forward from life to life. Not your name, not who you remember, okay? Not the money that you have, not the money, not the fame that you have developed. No, none of those. You're going to be an entirely different person based on the causes that you have planted, and that you are planting. Oh my, excuse me. But so, okay, so you want to be like Guan Yin, you better start acting like Guan Yin right now, okay? Until it becomes automatic. So that's how, if you look at the Buddha's life, for example, he practices in life after life. It's not just a one life affair deal kind of thing. It's a gradual process. Okay, dispelling the fear of samsara. Number 2, taking no interest in worldly goods or distractions. This is another quality that you should have. Okay. Number 3, looking out for others. So when you speak Dharma, it is to help people for other people's benefit. Number 4, abiding by the noble lineage. This is oh my, this is the lineage of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. Okay, so you follow in their footsteps. Okay, now, does anyone, we are halfway through, does anyone have any questions so far? No? No, despite me saying that asking questions is the best way. Okay, next. Now we have Nagarjuna in his text called The Perfection of Giving, and someone's asking him a question, and this is known as the 5 definitions of Dharma giving. It says, what is meant by the giving of Dharma? So here it goes a bit technical, but we'll bear with it. Why? Because there's a very good story that's waiting for us. And so Nagarjuna responds, it says, there are those who say that the giving in Dharma consists in being of benefit through the constant use of fine words. Okay, that means using speech, which in other words is how we learn the Dharma. That's why the Buddha's disciples are known as sound hearers. The Arhats are known as sound hearers. We learn through sound. Then Nagarjuna says, then again, there are those people who say that the giving of Dharma consists in proclaiming for people the marvelously good Dharmas from the discourses of the Buddhas. That means from the sutras. Okay, so the first is in principle, the second is in the sutras, and he says, yet again, okay, it's not finished yet again. Remember, there's 5. It says, there are those people who say that the giving of Dharma consists in using 3 kinds of Dharma to teach people. First, the sutras, second, the Vinaya, and third, the Abhidharma. Okay, what are these? Sutras are the discourses spoken by the Buddha. All right, those are known as sutras, very clear. Vinaya is also spoken by the Buddha, but it's a compilation of everything that has to do with the precepts, with the way of life. Okay, that's known as a Vinaya. And then number 3 is the Abhidharma. What is the Abhidharma? The Abhidharma is a collection of all the Buddha's teachings that was compiled after the Buddha. And it was a, Shastras would be considered under the Abhidharma. It is a process understanding of the Buddha's teachings from the Buddha's disciples, not from the Buddha himself. So the Abhidharma is kind of like a commentary, or I'm not really explaining this well. Maybe I'll read up on it and explain better next week. I usually refer to the Abhidharma as Buddhist psychology, because what it does is it takes all the discourses of the Buddha or the sutras of the Buddha, it takes all the principles and it reorganizes them in a different way, but it contains all the major teachings of the Buddha. Okay, that's the Abhidharma. So in other words, it is taking the sutras and reformulating them into a different, set of books. Yeah, different set of books. That's one way of looking at it. But then we're not over yet. She says, then again, there are those people who say that the giving of Dharma consists in employing 4 kinds of Dharma treasures to teach people. Okay, so there's additional. There's the same 3, Sutra, Vinaya, and the Abhidharma, and 4th, the various topics collection. Actually, I don't really know what various topics collection are now that I'm reading this. Then the next one, additionally, there are people who say that generally speaking, giving of Dharma consists in employing 2 kinds of Dharma. Number 1, the Dharma of the hearers, which is known as the Theravada canon or the Pali canon. And second, the Dharma of the Mahayana. All right, so there's a Theravada and a Mahayana. And then number 5, moreover, the giving of Dharma does not consist solely in words and speech. Okay, so it's not just words and speech. The giving of Dharma consists in constantly employing a pure mind and wholesome thoughts in the offering of instruction to everyone. So in other words, don't be a hypocrite. Okay, don't just talk. The talking or the speaking has to be backed up in a pure mind and in your thoughts. All right? Okay, now going on. Nagarjuna says, just as it is with the giving of material gifts, when there is no measure of blessings or virtue associated with it, if one fails to maintain a wholesome mind, so too it is with the giving of Dharma. If one fails to maintain a pure mind and wholesome thoughts, then it is not the case that this constitutes the giving of Dharma. Okay, what does this mean? When you give something and you don't have a wholesome mind, then you don't get the rewards. Okay, it's not, there's no blessings or virtue associated with it. So I think I shared this example before, I'm not sure. I shared it a few times, which is why sometimes I can't remember exactly where I spoke it. So bear with me if you heard this before. There was this man who died, and all his money went to the king. And this man was a very rich man, but he died without any family, and he lived his life more or less like a poor person, you know. But in fact, in reality, he had a lot of money. So the king was very puzzled, and the king went to ask Shakyamuni Buddha. He said, why is this man who is so rich yet live a life like a poor person and didn't have any family members that he could pass his treasure to? Okay, I'm going to just drink some water again. My apologies for my coughing. I'm going to see the doctor again tomorrow, so hopefully I get better. Anyway, so the Buddha explained, the Buddha said, what happened was that this man in the past life, he gave some food to a monk. And this monk was, I believe, a practical Buddha. But after giving the food to the monk, he regretted. He said, I should have eaten the food myself. So when he gave the food away to a practical Buddha, the blessings that you get are very great. And which is why in this life he had a lot of money. He was very, very rich. But because his mind was not pure, his mind was not wholesome, he gave the food, and he regretted immediately after. So it was not a wholesome offering. So as a result, even when he gave, there was no joy in his giving. So although he created blessings, the blessings are only material, and because of his stinginess in his mind when he created that blessing, in this life, when he had a lot of money, his mindset was that he was unable to spend any of it. So he did not get any, whatever it is that you can get. You can create more blessings, you can make people happy, you can make yourself happy, you can make yourself more comfortable, you know, all those wholesome things that you could do with wealth was denied to him. And denied by who? No one else but himself. Why? Because when he gave, that's how he gave. So it's called a mixed blessing. The Buddha called this black and white karma. You within the black, within the white, which is the wholesome, you have the black. So what a waste, right? All the money in the world, but unable to use any of it for any good, even for himself. At least if if he was selfish, but he could still enjoy his own wealth, that would be one thing. But yeah, that's why we have to be careful in giving. Okay, next paragraph. It says, then again, if the speaker of Dharma is able to maintain a pure mind and wholesome thought as he praises the three jewels here represent the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, opens the door to understanding offenses and blessings, explains the four truths are the Four Noble Truths, and so goes about teaching and transforming beings so that they are caused to enter the Buddha path, this constitutes true and pure Dharma giving. Okay, you all got that? All right, now moving on. Nagarjuna says, looked at another way, generally speaking, the Dharma to be given is of two types. The first consists in refraining from afflicting beings while also maintaining a wholesome mind, loving kindness, and sympathy. Sympathy here means compassion. This constitutes the causal basis for the path to Buddhahood. The second consists in contemplating and realizing that all dharmas are truly empty. This constitutes the causal basis for the path to nirvana. So again, the first one, consisting in refraining from afflicting beings, wholesome mind, loving kindness, sympathy. This is a result of understanding the Dharma from reading and studying and applying yourself. And then the second one is wisdom that arises from calming the mind, from your meditational practice. So again, wisdom and practice hand in hand. Then the next paragraph says, if in the midst of the great assembly one lets flourish a deeply compassionate mind as one sets forth these two types of Dharma, and if in doing so, it is not for the sake of fame, offerings, or expressions of reverence, this constitutes pure Dharma giving rooted in the Buddha path. All right? Okay, and so you don't do it for yourself, seeking fame, fortune, you want to be known, you want to be a famous Dharma speaker, you're not doing it for that, and you're not doing it for people to pay respects to you. You're only doing it to help others. All right. Okay. Then this is a story I've been waiting to tell you all. This story also has to do with praising. So I'm killing. I can't say I want to kill. Killing two birds with one stone. Okay, you know what I mean. Because why? Okay, let me see. Let me show you the slide before. Okay, here. This is the part of the sutra that we are on right now. Okay, and this part of the sutra says, playing musical instruments and singing praises, they should circumambulate clockwise around the Buddha's image. Then moreover, they should recall the merit and virtue of that Tathagata's past vows. They should read and recite this sutra, ponder its meaning, and lecture on and explain it. That's why our topic is on understanding how to explain the sutra. Because it's not just monks that do Dharma speaking. Actually, lay people have a lot of opportunities to help people, because you go and meet a lot of people. Monks don't really have a social life. You don't see me going around hanging out with friends and other monks. that's not what monastics do. So we don't really meet people. Okay, you all meet a lot of people, and that's where, if you can understand the principles of the sutra, then you can impart wisdom to people in a way that you can connect with. Okay, why do we want to do that? Well, look at the next sentence. It says, then you will obtain whatever you seek. If you want long life, you want wealth, you want official positions, or you want a daughter, son or daughter, you'll be able to get those. That's why. Okay. We will also explain that. Okay. Let me see. I'm looking for my slide. Monk with the fragrant breath. Okay, found it. Okay. Says this concept is illustrated in a story told in connection with King Ashoka, who in a single day was responsible for the creation of 80,000 Buddha images. Okay, 80,000 Buddha images. I don't think he was personally responsible, but as the king, he could create the conditions and get everyone involved to create 80,000 Buddha images. Although he had not yet achieved the stage or the path of seeing, still he did maintain a minor degree of faith and bliss in the Dharma of the Buddha. Every day he invited bhikshus to enter the palace to receive offerings. Every day he retained one Dharma master by order of seniority to speak the Dharma. Okay, then one day there was a young Dharma master, a master of the Tripitaka. So although young, being a master of the Tripitaka, that means you have mastered the Dharma, the Vinaya, and the Shastras. Shastras are the commentaries, like Shofu. Shofu is a Tripitaka master as well. So a very accomplished young monk. And not just accomplished, but who was intelligent and handsome and next in order to speak the Dharma. Okay, so this young man, this young monk was going to speak. He sat down next to the king. His mouth exuded an exotic fragrance. Okay, I'm going to get a lozenge for my throat. The king was filled with extreme doubt and suspicion. Okay, you imagine a monk sitting next to you, and then you smell a very, very fragrant smell. Okay, a very unusual smell coming from the mouth. Why? Well, number one, monks are not allowed to wear cologne or perfume. We don't even adorn ourselves. If you've observed the 8 precepts, you would know this. So for the monk's mouth to smell, the king was immediately filled with suspicion. He was of what kind of suspicion? He was of the opinion that this constituted a deliberate impropriety arising from a desire to employ a fragrant scent to influence the retinue in the royal palace. So he thought this monk had ulterior motives to gain favor or to make people think that he was special, or whatever it is that he was suspicious of. So the king asked the bhikshu, "What do you have in your mouth? Open your mouth so I can see into it." So the monk opened his mouth for the king. The king was being very rude, and it turned out there was nothing whatsoever inside his mouth. So the king wasn't satisfied. So he had the monk rinse his mouth with water, after which the fragrance remained just as before. Then the king asked, "Venerable one, is this fragrance newly manifest, or has it abided with you for a long time?" So the monk replied saying, "It has been like this for a long time. It's not some special toothpaste that he's using." Actually, during that time, they don't use toothpaste. What they do is they have a special wood. I can't remember what the name of the wood is. This wood, if you chew the end, the fibers of the wood will separate and split, and it looks like a brush. And then that's how it's a natural toothbrush. Even now, for example, at the city of 10,000 Buddhas, what is it? I think it's neem wood. Yeah, I think it's neem. I'm not sure. Someone can Google it and look for is neem a natural toothbrush. Anyway, in our monks' storehouse, where we store the things that people give us, we do have that. Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, there are some Theravada monks who use that as a toothbrush. Okay, anyway, I'm digressing. The king asked, "How long has it been that way?" So the monk replied in verse. He says, "It was at the time of Kashyapa Buddha." That was a long time ago. So long that numbers cannot convey how long it is. "That I gathered the Dharma underlying this fragrance. It has remained so like this for a very long time and has always been fresh, as if newly arisen." Then the king said, I do not understand this brief explanation. I say, please explain it more for me. So the monk said, the king should listen well and single-mindedly to my explanation. In the past, during the time of Kashyapa Buddha's Dharma, I was a Dharma proclaiming bhikshu who in the midst of the great assembly constantly took pleasure in expounding or praising on the immeasurable qualities of Kashyapa, the world-honored one, on the reality aspect of all dharmas, and on an incalculable number of methods to access dharma. Okay, you got that? Not only did he praise the Buddha, he also praised the dharma, but the reality aspect of all dharmas. That means probably he used Yogacara and Prashna Sutras to explain what's really going on, like what you are seeing right now. You think you're using your true eyes, but actually no, you're just like a dream. In a dream you can see things, but your eyes are actually closed. He will explain like that. And all incalculable number of methods to access Dharma. I think this means all the different practices. I think that's one way to understand the different Dharma doors. Then he said, I conscious, oh my God. Okay, you all can read the word for yourself. And earnestly set forth praises and offered instruction to everyone. From this time on forward to the present, I have always had a marvelous fragrance coming forth from my mouth. This has been the case in life after life without cease. It has constantly been just as it is this very day. He then spoke forth a verse. The fragrance from flowers on shrubs and on trees is utterly surpassed by this incense-like fragrance. It's able to pleasure the minds of all people. In life after life, it abides without ceasing. And when he's saying this, because of his because of his what's the word I'm looking for? He's not prideful or boasting when he says this about himself, because of his level of practice, because of his attainment, to be able, like, one clue is not just the fragrance of his mouth. That one clue is that the fact that he can recall the specific causes that led to this condition of his fragrant mouth, which is remembering his past life during the time. Okay. Then it says, at this the king was filled with a mixture of shame and delight. Why shame? Because he thought the monk was up to no good. At least the king had enough sense in him. After asking the poor monk to open his mouth and look into his mouth, and treating the monk like a thief and asking him to rinse his mouth. So he finally said to the bhikshu, he said, this has never been before. What sentence is that? This is such as has never been before. Okay, now. The merit of speaking the Dharma brings such a great fruition as this. Then the bhikshu said, this may be thought of as merely the blossom. It is not yet the fruit. Okay, for those of you who don't know, like me, until not too long ago, where do fruits come from? Fruits come from the flower. The flower gets, actually, I think I knew this in school. Okay, anyway, flowers get pollinated and then the flower will turn into a fruit. That's why you need pollination. Okay, so the monk was saying, no, it's not the fruit yet. This is not the end result. It's not the final condition yet. So the king said, what then is the fruit? Now he's very interested. Say, please tell me, pray expound upon this for me. Then the monk said, briefly speaking, the fruits are tenfold. So, okay, remember, where did he get this from? From praising the Buddha and the Dharma. All right. So what are the 10 fruits that you can get from praising the Buddha and the Dharma? There's a grand reputation and finely formed features. That's why he's handsome. Okay, grand reputation, and even to today we know of this monk. Okay, there's reputation for you. One experiences bliss and is the object of reverence. There shines awesome brilliance like sunshine and moonlight. So thus one becomes a man loved by all people. Okay, now, why are these seen as good things? It's not because you want to be loved by all people. You want people to, you want to be the object of reverence or respect from people. Why? Because in previous slides, we just saw that that should not be the objective of speaking Dharma. But this is seen as a positive because if you are someone like that, then it is very easy for you to make the Dharma connect to people because people will listen to you. You can even scold them like Shifu, you scold people, but people are happy. Why? Because they respect you. They have when they see you, not just respect, but they feel very affectionate to you. So they immediately take you as their kind of like a master kind of figure, which makes the teaching a lot easier. You know, you meet people who don't like you, it's so hard to teach. Okay, then he continues saying there's eloquence and also there's prodigious wisdom. Once able to end then the grip of the fetters. Fetters are the afflictions, the things that bind you to birth and death. One destroys all suffering and reaches nirvana, and so in this manner the count reaches to 10. Okay, so in terms of fetters, I just remembered there are a list of 10 fetters. So when you are a stream enterer, I think you get rid of the first 3 fetters. I'm not sure. Don't quote me, go research yourself. But when you become an arhat, you are free of all the 10 fetters. Now the king said, Venerable One, how is it that one gains such a reward as a result of praising the qualities of the Buddha? Okay, the king can't understand how just by praising the Buddha you can get all these qualities. So the monk explains, he says, if one praises the qualities possessed by the Buddha and causes this to be heard everywhere by all people on account of results which come forth as reward, one comes to be known by a grand reputation. If one praises the actual qualities of Buddha or of a Buddha and causes all people to experience delight on account of the force which is born from this merit, in life after life, features always are fine. This is how the Buddha can get the 32 major hallmarks and I think the 84 minor ones. If one explains for people offenses and blessings, allowing them to reach a place of peace and delight, on account of the merit which is thus produced, one experiences bliss and is always content. Okay, and then the next one, the powers of praising the merits of the Buddha cause everyone hearing to have minds made humble. Because why? When you hear that the Buddha, when in life after life, there's a saying, it says, there is no spot in the world where the Buddha has not given up his life to save a living being. And it's not metaphorically, it's supposed to be literal, because there are Jataka stories where the Buddha would actually do that, give up his life or sacrifice, sometimes not give up his life, but endure extreme discomfort so as to not harm any living being. Okay, so when you encounter stories like that, it's very humbling. And it says, on account of the power produced by this merit, one eternally garners men's reverence as reward. Okay, makes sense. Displaying the lamp of the speaking of Dharma, illumining and awakening all of the people, on account of the power produced of this merit, one's awesome bright brilliance shines forth like the sun. Okay, so instead of reading one by one, I'm just going to pick out the points. And or maybe I just read. If in many a fashion one praises the Buddha's merits and delights thus the hearts of all those by those words, on account of the power produced by this merit, one is ever the object of people's affection. If with clever discourse one praises the Buddha's merits which cannot be measured and can't be exhausted on account of the power produced by this merit, one's eloquent speech is never brought to an end. You can speak till the cows come home. Am I using that metaphor, that phrase, right? Anyway, you can talk and talk and talk, and you always be eloquent and people like to listen to you. If one praises the marvelous dharmas of Buddha or the Buddha, which are such as no one can ever surpass, on account of the power produced by this merit, one possesses great wisdom, and is pure wisdom. And then let me see, this is the last slide of the verses. It says, when one praises the qualities possessed by the Buddha, one causes afflictions of men to be shunned. It means you reduce the afflictions. On account of the power produced by this merit, fetters are cut off and defilements destroyed. Because both kinds of fetters are brought to an end, nirvana in this body has already been achieved. As when torrents of rain pour down from the sky, all fires are extinguished and no embers remain. Then once again he addressed the king, saying, if there still remains anything to which you are not awakened, that means you're still confused now is the time to bring questions forth. The arrows of wisdom should be used to smash your armor of doubts. The king said, my mind has been both delighted and awakened such now that there remain no more objects of doubt. This English is like Shakespeare English. The Venerable One is a blessed man, well able to speak forth the praises of the Buddha. When one speaks forth the Dharma in accord with the various causes and conditions discussed above, and so brings about the deliverance of beings, this qualifies then as the giving of Dharma. Okay? In other words, you speak to the disposition of living beings. You are able to make them understand based on their intent, what they want, based on their ability or their faculties of understanding, but you do it in such a way that, for example, like a bodhisattva, they play the long game in life after life. Okay, they are constantly trying to bring us to the path until one day we can walk the path by ourselves. And then that's what this last paragraph means. Then this qualifies as a giving of Dharma. You're helping them end birth and death. Okay, so we are at now, the time is, we only have 2 or 3 minutes left. We have to stop now. Next week, we'll look at speaking true Dharma, what is true Dharma, and also what is the Dharma. Okay, to be able to speak Dharma, you have to understand what constitutes the Dharma. Is the Dharma only found in the sutras that the Buddha speaks? Is that what constitutes the Dharma? What if what the Buddha spoke wasn't the Buddha's Dharma at all, but was just the Buddha revealing the true nature of all things? Then what is the Dharma? Right? You all got that? Anyone got that? Okay. You don't. It's okay if you don't get it. We're going to go to that next week. Okay. Any questions? No. No questions. Okay. Let's do dedication of merit then. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, where's my handbell? Okay, 3 bows to the Buddha. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Venerable Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Okay, everyone. Amitofo. We will see you all next week.
Thank you, Pastor. Amitofo.